Hey everyone, Greg here. As you may know by now, I'm the co-founder and CEO of TripShock, an online reseller for water sports and tours. For the past 12 years, we've had the pleasure of working with hundreds of operators across the country, and we're looking to grow our community. It's free to sign up, and you only pay when we bring you confirmed bookings. We'll help you reach new customers, fill empty seats, and grow your business like so many have done with us over the years. Head over to partners.tripshock.com to learn more about our program, read testimonials, or speak directly with our supply team. As always, thank you for listening and enjoy the show.
They come to relax, enjoy the beach, have fun, and spend money. And that's where we come in. This is the Awkward Watersport Guys podcast. Find out tips on the best ways to market and operate a water sports business. If you're a water sports operator, you need to grow your brand, operate more safely, upgrade your operations, and of course, increase bookings. We're industry veterans, broadcasting from Destin, Florida. This is the Awkward Watersport Guys podcast. And this is Kevin O'Neill and Greg Fisher.
Hey everyone, and welcome to episode 32 of the Awkward Watersports Guy podcast. Today, we're going to be talking to Shawn Walsh of Jet Ski Texas. Shawn is a new business owner, and he's part of our new series called Mentoured, which Kevin is very proud of, this name, because he was able to finally put tour in the name of a topic.
I love it. Makes me so happy.
It is pretty great. I mean, we look forward to doing a lot more of this, bringing guys and girls that are new to water sports, that want to be, want to have dialogue about starting their business, because there's some things in this interview that kind of alarmed us, but at the same time, this is where we're at, with new operators, where we think that we're doing the right thing. We have everything, all our ducks in a row, and it comes to find out that we're not there yet. I mean, I was very fortunate to have really good mentors when I started my company. If I didn't, I'd be making those same mistakes.
Which could just cost you everything, man.
Yeah.
That's why, when you go to a market like Key West or like Hawaii, it's ingrained. Like, everyone's got their captain's license. Everybody, when you're in these markets at 365 days a year boating, I remember always thinking before I got here, like, somebody with a 6-pack boater's license, an OUPV, or anything below a master's license, was like they were just messing around. If you had a season, you were just messing around. There is such a pedigree and legacy in markets like South Florida and Hawaii that have 365-day-a-year water sports, where you're out there doing water sports on Christmas Day, on Thanksgiving, and it just, it's going nonstop. I feel like you just have so many hours behind the wheel, so many hours out on the water. There's just so many things that you see. So when I first came here, it wasn't even like an egotistical thing, like, you part-timers. I mean, when I was younger, that's the way I felt, about parasail captains that flew in, seasonal places. Oh yeah, whatever. But you realize that it's like, man, there's people jumping into this game that's just like, that seems like a great investment. Whoa, man. Like, I take this so seriously, it's like, I just, I liken it to like anything, like flying a plane or something like this. It's like, I wouldn't presume to think that, like, getting into the commercial jet, flying business seemed like a great investment. I was just going to go do it myself. Like, man, I'm just going to buy this plane, fly it myself, work on it, and start paying customers tomorrow because I got my license on my twin-engine Cessna. So it really got me to thinking. It's like, man, this probably market is filled with so many more people like that just are like, man, that have a passion for wanting to get into it, which is a great thing. I'm not knocking anybody that wants to get into the industry, but at the same point in time, Greg, you know how I am when it comes to customer safety, because I think that is 100% what keeps this industry thriving and living and pushing forward. Is our first goal is maritime professionals to keep people safe. I feel like we're not doing our duty on this show, that if we're not grabbing some of these guys that are well-intentioned, that are super passionate about it, and then going like, hey man, what are you doing? Let's talk about this. And let's make sure you get on a great path, because not everybody had the opportunities like you and I to grow up or be around these people in this industry that are just, are wealths of information that could tell you anything about any boat and, whatever. So I hope we get more people on the show that are like this, that we can kind of institute some good habits moving forward for entrepreneurs in this space.
Yeah. Well, with that said, why don't we get into the interview?
Let's get awkward.
Hey everyone, we're here with Shawn Walsh of Jet Ski Texas out of League City, Texas, near the Houston, Galveston area. Shawn, welcome to the show.
What's up, guys? Thanks for having me.
So, Shawn, start us off. Tell us a little bit about why you are in water sports, how you got into water sports. Just kind of give us a little background on that.
Yeah. So past, 3, 4, 5 years, we had just been spending a ton of time out on the lake, our local body of water. I got a little center console boat, and man, when daylight savings hits, we're out there for sunsets 2, 3, 4 times a week. And I'm always bringing different people with. It's cool because they get to see an area from a viewpoint that they never get to see. We've got creeks feeding in and all the huge, massive mansions, and just being able to cruise around all this stuff by water, people just get this huge enjoyment out of it. So I really enjoyed doing that. And then the more time I spent out on the lake, I realized there's nothing for people to do out here. Years ago, behind the Hilton Hotel, there was a parasailing operation. And I'm like, man, parasailing would make a killing if we could come back, And then about the same time, I saw a post by Kevin and another group about how he'd grown his business. And I found out he used to be a parasail captain. But then I looked at a boat and I was like, good Lord, these things are expensive. And then insurance. And then I figured it's probably a good idea if I, had some experience towing people around on a parachute. That idea kind of came and went. And then I was like, there's got to be places to rent jet skis around here. And there's not. What really drove me to where I'm at now is there are some jet skis available to rent on Clear Lake. And I almost felt bad for the people that were renting based on the reviews. I mean, I'm talking bad, real bad. And so for months, I was talking about it. And my wife was on board. And I was like, all right, we're getting somewhere. My kids were super excited. I'm in an area where the option to rent a good jet ski from a good operation just isn't there. It just kind of ties into always enjoying being out on the lake and out on the water, but also bringing something to my area that just doesn't seem to exist right now.
Yeah, man, that's like our first. Sometimes I wonder what my bio says. Is it captain? Is it entrepreneur? So you touch on something there that it's like an entrepreneur's first role is to fix a problem in a given market. So that's like the first hurdle. And you're there, you know what I mean? It's like that it hits close to home, man. I feel that. And I'm sure Greg feels that too, in a big way. So that's the first piece of the puzzle, man. And you got that, you got your why. And now the much more exceedingly difficult is how.
Yeah.
But it's not by any means impossible. And it's not even improbable. It's definitely probable and possible. And depending on your drive, it could be absolutely expected, you could say. So, because I hear you talking in my head. I just hear there's a ton of different things that you can do. Yeah. So before we actually hit record, we were talking about you actually got operational. Yeah. So I would like to put out a spoiler alert and a disclaimer right now that I am not getting behind any of the things that Shawn might have done, may or may not have done on his lake. But the reality is a lot of operators start off exactly how you're starting off or how you started off. So why don't you tell us a little bit about kind of where you're at now and how you got to that point, their struggles at the marina and stuff like that.
So my professional background is sales and marketing. The more I thought about the idea, it's all right, well, we need to do a test. right? The test was buy a couple jet skis. I've got some slips at the marina that I keep my boat at. So we got some jet skis. We got some PWC ports. Threw up a Google business page. Threw up a website. Went and made some old school bandit signs. And the goal was to run this thing for spring break and see what happens. The Sunday before spring break, we put out about, 60, 70 signs. And it's basically the main two roads around the perimeter of the lake. And Monday morning, the phone started blowing up. And, the sign didn't say much other than $75 jet ski rentals. So people are calling basically saying, well, what is the 75 get? So the phone's ringing. And somehow I even got a couple of calls off the Google business page, a couple of calls off the Facebook page. So before you know it, we were booking rentals over the phone, had a random booking pop up through the website.
Someone took notice, didn't they? Besides customers.
Yeah. So I had some people coming and going out of the marina. I was dialing in my safety speech and, my wife was down there with me. But yes, someone happened to see one of my signs. He's a guy that rents jet skis from basically under a bridge at a boat ramp. He called the marina, and this guy's turned into lit a fire under my ass. But anyway, he called the marina and got one of the newer girls that works there and just, did you know someone was illegally renting jet skis out of your marina? And the funny thing is my phone rang 5 minutes before, and then I got a call from the marina. And it's this newer receptionist. Are you illegally renting jet skis out of our marina? I was like, whoa, hang on a second. I was like, sure. I've had some people come and go, just so you know. And I kind of know the marina manager. So I was like, is Donna there? Let me talk to Donna. And we don't know.
So hold on, Shawn, if I can unpack that just a little bit. So the long and short of it is, so you have you're paying you're paying for a local slip fee out of your marina. They charge you by the foot, I'm assuming, for whatever you have in there.
Yep.
Do they have any commercial? Do they have anything commercial happening out of that marina at all? Is there any commercial activity? All right. So you have some kind of commercial activity. You're paying for a different rate, I'm sure. When you spoke to them, were they just like no, or was there like maybe, or did you talk to the marina manager? Were you able to get by the gatekeeper?
Yeah. So this marina, it's a little bit different situation. The company that I work for owns the marina. It's an asset for an insurance company. I talked to Donna and she said, I already called so-and-so. And he was like, well, why won't we rent to him? And she said, well, last time it was a liability issues with the attorneys. But she told me point blank, she's like, I have no problem with you going directly to the guy that ultimately makes the decision, because I don't have a problem with you being in here. So that door is open. Have
you done that? It's open.
I haven't done that yet.
So what I would do, I had a number in my head when I came here of what I was willing to pay. When I went to my first marina, I stumbled in there. I don't even know if they had a sign up or what it was, but I walked in there. I asked for, jet skis. All marina owners are going to be very suspect to jet skis. They hate them. So I would go in there and I would firstly, wherever the marina is, I would have like a plan put together for a no wake zone outside of the entryway into the marina. I would pitch having a guide or your booth person on a potential a machine to guide them out there, so they understand whatever it is you have to pitch to them, so that in their mind they're not seeing people doing donuts in the middle of their marina. And so you have to start there. That's what I told them. I said, my guys are going to bring the things in and out. We're going to take them to where they're going to go, and then they'll get on the skis and they'll get off and get on to their business. Once we got in there and they realized it wasn't going to be a nightmare, like I could have parked jet skis up like directly onto the gangway, like onto the docks. They didn't give a shit. Once they saw it was not going to be a problem, wasn't going to be an issue. So I first set the stage to say, hey, look, I'll do whatever it is you guys want to make sure no shenanigans are happening in here. Nobody's going to be driving like a jackass in here or creating problems for any of the other marinas. And then I was also like, what do you guys charge a foot? Oh, $2 a foot. Cool. I'll pay $6 a foot.
Yeah.
And then I want to whatever slip set you have open, eventually I want to have all of them.
Hey, Kevin, I had a similar story when I started my jet ski business in Alabama. I had a number in mind of the max number I was willing to spend based on my pro forma I made. I walked in there, the guy quoted me, I think it was like $1,000 a month per slip. And I knew that was kind of high for that marina, but I took it. And I wanted to be a little higher for a reason, because the whole marina was sailboats and charter boats. And there's nothing more a sailboat or a charter boat hates is jet skis. So I needed him, the marina owner, to feel good about renting to a jet ski. And for him, it's going to be like, well, he pays more than everybody else. He buys a lot of fuel from me than anybody else. He brings a lot of people here than anybody else. I had to create, and I also made sure I hired the best possible people I could find, because I know there's going to be conflicts between the charter boats and the sailboats and my customers. And just like Kevin said, we had an extra ski that took them out of the marina or was always on hand in case there was an issue. So we went above and beyond, because I knew going in, just from all my mentors in this telling me, that the marina people are probably going to dislike you unless you start off on the right foot.
Yeah.
You
can't go into it thinking I'm going to be treated equally, because you're not.
Yeah.
And then the next thing is I would tell them, and when I hear it in your like backstory, I sort of get a sense that like maybe jet skis at the beginning, but maybe like a charter boat or something like that, or doing sunset tours is also maybe swirling around in your mind.
Absolutely.
Right? Am I right about that?
Absolutely.
Yeah. I definitely figured, man. So, you gotta explain that story too. Like, hey man, I wanna have a charter boat in here, and I realize that commercial pays more. I'll pay more for that. Like, I'm just trying to get a leg up and get a foot started. We did have people, I realized I wasn't doing the right way, but we had a lot of people coming through the door. And I'm sure, does the marina sell anything? Do they sell like sundries or anything like that?
No, fuel dock. That's it.
Well, I mean, there's another in right there, man. There's some marinas that are like, you have to buy fuel from us. And you'd be like, hey, yeah, man, I'll buy fuel from you. I'll pay more. Like, I'll do whatever it takes. Because at the end of the day, as long as you do everything else right, the hardest part of this game is finding somewhere to go, man. Like we had guys from Las Vegas Jeep Tour, and they're like, I saw their setup the other day. We were like FaceTiming talking, and they're like out of a warehouse because there is no dockage in where they're at on Lake Mead. They're actually renting jet skis. Like, they have people trailering them. I'm like, what? I'm like, holy shit.
If anyone's listening and you trailer your skis, I give you a lot of credit, but I'm sure it's not a sustainable way of growing your business. Eventually, you got to find a home. Now, I'm saying there's people that have been doing it for years, trailering skis. It works. They make a good living, but you really have to have a very logistical operation to haul skis to different lakes and different areas. And I know people do it. Everyone I spoke to that has done it, like I know one company in Destin, he would trailer boats to different locations, and he is constantly calling me, asking me for a location because of just think of the traffic and things like that. If you're on a real tight schedule with traffic, that's not going to happen, at least not here. Maybe in a more rural area where it's not as bad, but you have to have, your ultimate goal, if you're really serious about it, it's got to be finding a location. Yeah.
So it sounds like you're right there. I know you have, I don't know what your cash flow looks like if you have a cushion. I would definitely say that having some money in the background for these things that are going to come up, like insurance, that's going to be another thing. Insurance it's expensive, and it's almost as hard to get now as finding a location. I wouldn't say almost. That's probably a stretch, but there's a guy in the group that I think he's made like 6 posts or something like that. Like, where do I get insurance? Where do I get insurance? Where do I get insurance? So that's you're going to be your next battle. But to that point, you were You were operating without insurance, and that's okay. It's not the end of the world. No one got hurt. You didn't get sued. Nothing like that happened. But as I said to Shawn before we started the show, we call that riding dirty.
Yeah.
And if you're listening to this, you might be a guy that is out there riding dirty, man. You might be riding out there insurance. And as we told Shawn, as I told Shawn before the show started, I mean, that's a fast track if somebody gets hurt for you to lose everything you have. So with that being said, keep in mind that if you can find insurance, that they will finance you, and they will finance you with like 20% down, 25% down. And then you can make a month. Normally they want the premium settled in 6 months. So you have to pay the rest of it over 6 months. But if you're starting with 2 or 3 skis, I think most policies are somewhere around 3,500. Some also work on volume as well. So it would be a gross, a percentage of your gross. I would not go that route, just because typically those premiums are higher. They're a higher percentage. And then when you start getting into tiers and you look at the 90-page binder they send you, there's a lot of, things. Oh, well, if you do this or if you do that, it could be higher. So if you can get with somebody that'll just charge you per piece of equipment, that's going to be the best way. I think you'd be somewhere around $7,000 or $8,000 for the year on 2 machines. And then, you do the math on that, you're looking at $1,500 down. And then you just have to pay that, the whatever it would be, maybe, I guess my math is failing me, $1,000 or $850 a month on insurance. But if you're getting the business you're talking about getting with basically just guerrilla marketing and no type of ad spends whatsoever, even if you break even your first year, your first season, that's a win, man, in my book. So right on the cusp of finding your marina, you haven't made that call. Guaranteed that I would get the insurance stuck at least to close, like systematically. I would lock in while you're talking to insurance. And then when they ask you for insurance, because they very well might ask you for liability insurance, that's going to be another thing you want to be able to bring to the table. Hey, I've got $1 million coverage. Like, no, because that's the first thing that they're concerned with.
I don't know what marina would allow just operation without insurance.
No, none of them are. So I submitted one application and got approved. And then I've got the carrier that I want to pick me up. I submitted last, I think, Thursday. So I should hear an answer any day. The second I get that, and I mean, it's a quote initially until it's binded. But it'll be $1 million premise. It'll be $500,000 per person, $1 million per occurrence. It's exactly what I need. To where,
there you go, man.
Especially with this marina, my home marina. Yeah, I won't go sit down with them unless I can slide that across the table and say, look, this is already in place. And it's actually specific to their marina. I had to take pictures of the docks and the walkways and everything.
Cool, man. It sounds like you're right there. You're if it makes you feel any better, man, like you're like miles ahead of where I started, because I bought my skis, I bought my boat. I was like, yeah, I'm just going to walk into town and find a marina. I actually did. But if I was like 6 months later than that, if this was today, if it's new Kevin talking to old Kevin, I'd be like, dude, so don't go buy the boat. Don't buy the skis. Find a location first. Like, seriously, man, calm down. I got everything, man. I bought everything. So I think you're right. I think you're on the right path, man. You got your gear. You got a quote. Like, you're ready to go. Now, I know Greg dug into Greg is obviously the residential digital marketing. I mean, he's way better than I am. I talk about it like I'm as good as Greg, but Greg's quietly and silently better than everybody. So let's get into the site.
I just have some questions for Shawn. And Shawn, there's no right or wrong answer because you are new at this, but I'm looking at your website. And if you're all following along, check out jetskitx.com. This is Shawn's website. And I noticed first thing, Shawn has Fair Harbor hooked up. Awesome. A great booking system for new businesses. The logo, Shawn, I'm sure this is like, I'm not going to harp on you too much, but
it's cool.
The logo is actually
fucking trash, man.
The logo is absolutely fine. I've seen 10 times worse. The issue I have with it is you put your price in your logo, or your price should only be on your booking. So like, it should be no static pricing. I call it static pricing when it can't be changed using your software. And I know you had the yard signs with the $75 price point on there. And I don't know what the pricing is over there. Is that an arbitrary number you came up with, or did you base it off of other companies in the area?
No, the going rate for my area is $95. But for my market test, I mean, I was just going to roll with 75. I knew I couldn't lose any money at that number.
Yeah.
So
No, you can lose money at $75 an hour, bro.
Well,
Definitely, man, for sure.
But remember, I wasn't paying insurance. So.
Right.
So
yeah, you're paying $2 a foot for dockage. Yeah, I mean, you're crushing it.
So yeah, that logo is actually the proof from the yard sign company. So
have you ever been over to Fiverr, Shawn?
I have.
Yeah, man, you can get a crazy good logo for $20.
That's exactly what I was going to recommend. Is for $25 to $50, you can get a really badass logo, and I would highly recommend that because it sounds like you're going to be building a brand. I just have a feeling.
Yeah,
and that's a good place to start. I mean, even the little jet ski guy and the black color. I mean, you can use that as a starter, and they'll build a couple different options for you. But Fiverr, 100% way to go for startups. The rest of the website, I mean, I know you can pay a few $1,000s and get a really nice template. Honestly, I think the website's fine. It gives the information, the about, policies, cancellation policies, frequently asked questions. You have your online waiver. You can easily book online using Fair Harbor. I mean, I think everything is where it needs to be for a startup company. As you get bigger, you can increase the investment and get a nicer website. You'll have more products. Do you have like any photographer friends in the area?
No. Yeah, the website was, I mean, that was me buying a domain, spending about 5 really long nights trying to figure out what is it, WordPress? Yeah, and these were the results. But yeah, I had
you put it on the right platform, dude. I mean, my first website was built on Wix.
Yeah.
WordPress is the perfect way to start. I mean, if you can start simple, but as you grow it, changing the whole platforms can affect your SEO in the future. So starting it off with WordPress is awesome. A lot of people start off with like a GoDaddy or Wix. And then when they have to rebuild it, they might lose a little juice. But I think it's great. I think it's a really good start to everything. It's mobile, it's mobile responsive. I'd say that the logo is one thing. And the second thing, if you can find a cheap local photographer that can take some really high quality pictures of people on the skis having fun, those pictures there's pictures I took with my business 6 years ago that I still use in TripShock's marketing because they were awesome. And I think that guy cost me $300.
Listen, I want to take it. I'll take even another level low. And I know Greg's not going to like it, but I mean, because you want to have original content. I don't like it either, but I'll still do it to this day. You can buy images. I mean, you can go on to whatever it is, the X amount of different where you can purchase purchase images, public use images for $5. Don't get me wrong. You don't want to be like, you want to have your own brand and your content is your brand. But I mean, at the end of the day, if you can find something that conveys your message and that people love and looks beautiful and you're not going to get in any trouble for using it, jack that shit, man. Like I've done a ton of sales with just like, I mean, you know what I mean? Just bought pictures off of like the Wix marketplace, WordPress, whatever it was I need to use. High resolution, people having a great time. So many guys get hung up on the equipment and they think like just because you think it's cool, like that the customers are going to think it's cool. But most of these people are just looking for something to do for a couple hours. They're not like, man, they're not Shawn. They're not like, I want to be on the water all the time, So it's really funny. It's like, I don't know like how much like marketing interest. You said you have a sales and marketing background. So you're like probably looking to get out of that and get on the water. I have like a super strong like water background. I was like looking to get into the more of like, I want to be in an office, which totally fucking changed again. I'm like, I want to be outside. But, I spent a lot of time during where you're at, right? Just focusing on that stuff. You can get like a free week or 14-day trial to SEMrush, and that will allow you to get some really good keyword research. They'll give you they'll do like a screen share and they'll do a demo with you, and it'll help you be able to start planning out what the content of your website's going to look like. And then SEMrush is like $100 a month or something like that after that. But that's if you're like an SEO guy. Do you really need that if you're building multiple sites? But you might be able to either get away with using it for that 2 weeks product and get your keyword, because sometimes like the Google keyword research is a lot of times is trash. like, especially when you're running your first campaign, that they're going to recommend that you put in all these keywords, and you're just like, oh yeah, put all the keywords in there. But it's not very good. Another thing is I would do is I would look at not even the competitors that are in your market. I mean, there's got to be some decent, maybe not in your market, but maybe like a larger market. If you said you're near Houston.
Yeah.
So you're not far from the Gulf Coast. I mean, you can look at our market. I mean, you can look at my website. You can look at TripShock. You can look at all these large websites and then try to find the commonalities. And in like SEMrush or SpyFu or any of these like sort of market research tools, digital marketing research tools, they will give you an idea of what these larger players in the community are, what they're bidding for. Now, it's not always going to necessarily translate perfectly over into your market, but it will translate close enough, jet ski rentals, wave runner rentals. Like certain markets have different verbiage for what they're looking for. It might be like wave runner rentals in Houston. It might be jet ski rental in Houston. It might be jet ski tour in Houston. You don't really know until you kind of look. And then you're going to start targeting like at a higher level and then start really working your way down through your sales funnel, things to do in Houston. You're going to start there. Like, looking for a great thing to do with the kids, try a jet ski rental in Houston. I'm sorry, where was your actual where you're at?
League City.
League, like baseball league. You said
league.
That. Right.
Yeah.
So, and then I would look at the surrounding markets where more people, where you're getting more visitors, and like places. I would target Houston and start looking at the returns, the search query returns. So I'm in Fort Walton Beach, but I'm confusing as shit when you look at my marketing. People are always like, are you in Destin or Fort Walton Beach? Most of the time, because we're 5 miles away from Destin, nobody knows the difference.
Yeah.
So we use that because Destin's it's so much more of a search term. So when people call us up and they're like, where are you? We're like, oh, we're 5 miles away from the harbor. They don't give a shit. You know what I mean? They're cool with that. So if somebody's in Houston, which I can't imagine there's a massive wave runner happening in Houston. No. But if I'm visiting Houston and it's summer and it's hot and I want to do something to do outside, I might search for things to do outside Houston. And obviously that's going to be a long climb up that ladder to start ranking for those keyword terms. And then, also don't be afraid to be resold. Get on TripAdvisor. Like, as much as I rail against TripAdvisor, people find out who you are on TripAdvisor if they're visiting Houston, and you can get in there and then again start climbing that on TripAdvisor, getting those reviews. Petition the people that you've already taken out. If you have them in a CRM or in a spreadsheet or something like that, reach back out to them. Hey guys, I think it's all fair. If you have friends that have come out and got to use their wave runner and be like, hey man, I'll tell you what, I will trade you I need some pictures of you having fun on my wave runners, and I want you to go write a great review about Jet Ski TX. Yeah, jetskitx.com. But you can go do my free wave runner rental. I'm not going to charge you anything, but I want a great review and I want to use some of those pictures. And then now you have a two-pronged marketing attack. You got your content and you have your first couple of reviews that you can get in there on TripAdvisor. I had people, and I didn't even petition them to do it, just when I started my business, that I had taken parasailing in Key West that were like, oh, we're going to come visit you in Destin. They knew me as Captain Kevin, their parasail captain in Key West. They went and wrote me reviews on TripAdvisor. We went parasailing with Captain Kevin. I'm like, am I just a brand? is that illegal? But I'll take it. So
before we get too heavy in the marketing, I'd like to hear from Shawn of what he's kind of done so far. I heard that you did Google My Business page, which I think is the number one thing you got to do, more important than your website actually. But what are some of the things that you've done or plan on doing with your marketing?
So the area that I'm in, I'm going to say there's little to no competition. It's going to be Google SEO ranking. And it's I guess they call it geofencing. Anybody that's in the Houston, Galveston area. I think a lot of people search for jet ski rentals near me, and I just need to show up on top of everybody. The few reviews that I got blow everybody else away. So almost all the calls that I get right now, and we're turning people down saying, hey, we'll be up by Memorial Day. It's all off of the Google business. So I think that's going to be my biggest focus. and then get some organic ranking on the Jet Ski Texas website.
Yeah, you made a good point. When you're in a market that there's not a lot of people or there's not a lot of market saturation for that activity like jet ski rentals, you have to create that demand yourself. And the way to create that demand is through top of funnel things. And I agree with Kevin. I know he kind of has a love-hate relationship with TripAdvisor, but I think this is a perfect opportunity to create that top of funnel demand by getting resold with them. And they're going to take somewhere between 18 and 25% commission. Ooh. However, if you can get on a platform with that many eyeballs, and you have your price correct, I mean, you can have it only maybe only give them the days of the week that you are, since you don't have a lot of inventory. If you had 20 jet skis, I'm sure it wouldn't matter. But if you have 2, 3, or 4, you could give them the slow days of the week and make it priced right. So, I mean, I always recommend pricing your stuff to be able to absorb a commission, whether it be Johnny on the street, concierge, or it be through a wholesaler like TripAdvisor. This is a way for you to get massive exposure. And I just looked on TripAdvisor while we were talking. There's not any rentals. You'd be the first one on there. And Shawn, we're talking Houston, one of the biggest cities. You would biggest city in one of the biggest cities in America, and you'll be the only jet ski rental. You would be crazy not to get on there, at least until you feel comfortable and you can throttle it at some point. Now, if you get more inventory, then let it wide open, price it right.
If there's no boat sightseeing like sector, which I didn't dive like all the way in, and like because obviously TripAdvisor is like now they push all of their listings that they're taking a commission off to the front of it. So sometimes you got to go a little deeper into TripAdvisor and see if there's any boat or sightseeing tours. I don't see any right now, but if there's none to very few, that automatically puts you at number one. Like you have like 7 reviews and you're number one in boat sightseeing tours, but still that carries so much weight with people. Like Greg said, it's like if you're focusing on this top of funnel stuff, everywhere they go, they see that you're in the top position. You're here, you're there. Like everybody kind of like realizes who your company is, and they start seeing, because they might be doing due diligence. They might be like, well, you might not be the only guy, so let's keep on looking. I think sometimes people will look around. Like Greg was saying, like he was going to Tahoe and he kept on finding the same charter company over and over and over again. And it was like only probably because Greg knows the market, he knew that was the same company. But a lot of people don't. A lot of times people just be looking and they'll just be like, oh, okay, this one looks like the best. It's the same one. You know what I mean? It's the same guy just running all these traffic sources everywhere. So, I know you like cringe when he said 18 to 25%, but you can set your price at whatever with TripAdvisor. I don't know what their price parity is, but
what's the best resource for someone to learn how TripAdvisor works?
Spending time on TripAdvisor.
When you sign up, you have to sign up for Viator to sell on TripAdvisor.
I signed up through TripAdvisor and then was linked to Viator.
Correct. Yeah, you're technically signing up for Viator. It's just a different platform. And so you're going to be on both, and also they're going to distribute your tour. So basically how it works is when you sign up for Viator, because Viator is like the primary platform for TripAdvisor, you're going to be your business is going to be listed on TripAdvisor. You're going to be listed on Groupon. You're going to be listed on all these different airline websites. They're the single point. You pay commission just to Viator. They split it with all of their affiliates. That's the kind of the beauty of being new. When I signed up my jet ski company, I signed up with any reseller I could find because I needed to develop that demand that I wasn't getting.
Realistically, though, the majority of your traffic, though, is coming from TripAdvisor. So that's a question mark because I didn't look at the traffic sources for TripAdvisor through Viator. So I'm just saying it's like a sort of like a front facing, like solving the problem is like look at TripAdvisor rather than Viator and
Correct.
Look at it through the customer's lens. And as I said, I would look at whatever their cheese walking tour of Chicago is, of the 5 top things, whatever's crushing reviews that tons of people are doing. I would actually go and look at those companies and seeing to how they're marketing to the market, because there might be some stuff you might even be able to learn there, not just through TripAdvisor, but just through the marketing of a whole different sector. Because again, granted, you're not competing with all the jet ski rentals, but is there a huge demand for jet ski rentals enough to satisfy what you're doing? Now you're competing with the entire market as well. And I think there's something there to see how the cheese walking tour industry is doing it.
In a nutshell, TripAdvisor, if you're going on, like, let's say someone Googles things to do in Houston, let's just say that right now they're not even recommending jet ski rentals. And that is a huge missed opportunity for water sport companies. You should see boat rentals, jet ski rentals. And that's what I noticed with my company in Orange Beach, Alabama, when you went to things to do in Orange Beach. And this is, I mean, TripAdvisor's number one for all those searches, that there was no promoting water sports because it's a pay to play system now. You can get a free listing. Now, I recommend getting a free listing on TripAdvisor. That's something I would do immediately after getting off this call. Get a free listing with them. And then once you're more together, you can sign up for the pay to play system, which is the commission based, being a reseller on there. And being that you're Fair Harbor, it's directly connected. So if someone books on TripAdvisor, your inventory will sync up, which is a beautiful thing about using a reservation system. But best thing about it is that they're generating thousands of visits a day on that Things to Do in Houston page. You want to be front and center, and you don't only got to pay if someone books. And since it's a pay to play system, they're going to want to promote your business because unlike most tour companies and activity and rental companies in Houston, TripAdvisor isn't making money off them. It's all a free listing. But since they'll be making money off you, they're going to want to promote the crap out of you. And that's what I noticed. Heck, I was on email blasts. They would promote it to all their travelers that were coming into Houston. I mean, what Houston has all these trade shows and big events, man, that's a perfect opportunity to get in front. TripAdvisor will help you get in front of all those people.
So the pay to play is just a percentage of the bookings, or is there anything else any costs involved?
That's it. It's just whatever they book for you. They'll take a percentage on it. I mean, it's the same thing with, Trip Shock does. I mean, we don't have a presence in that market. Otherwise, that'd be, we'd be having a conversation. But I'd love to get into the Galveston area because it's kind of like the next destination from New Orleans. But yeah, I think it's a great opportunity for you. But my biggest concern is your inventory. If you only have 2 skis, you might be selling that out. We have a lot of trouble partnering with companies that are that small because we never have the ability to book anything because by the time we do, they're sold out or they have very limited inventory. So I think TripAdvisor is good to get on now just to get the exposure. You can limit the inventory so you don't sell out a lot, but getting those top of funnel views is really important while you're starting out. Building that market demand for jet ski rentals, you can start that whole trend.
What would be your advice as far as an initial fleet size? I'm not, I've got 2. I'm not going to be less than 4, and I'll probably be somewhere between 4 and 10.
Ideally, I would say 10 is a good number. I started off with 7, and they're all used skis. 2 of them crapped out before we even got into the peak part of the summer. Plus, I needed 1 ski as a guy for a chase ski, I call it. So I was basically left with 4 to rent. You can't make money on, if you're doing a full time, you're going heavy, you can't make a decent living on 4 skis. So for a part time, you can do pretty well part time. But if you really want to get serious, I think you need around 10. Kevin, what do you think?
If you got $100,000 laying around, yeah, man, start with 10. If you don't, I echo Greg. I think 4 or 5. If you got 4 and you can service a group of 8 people, the issue comes to when it's like when you have it's always such a pain in the ass because at 9 o'clock in the morning, 10 o'clock in the morning, you don't have, nobody wants them, but then at 12, it's like you could have 30 skis and everybody wants them, So it's that one time that somebody calls and you've got a total of 4 skis and 3 of them are out and somebody calls and wants 5. You're like, damn it, I need 10 skis. Yeah, for that hour, so you have to get creative on the phone, that's the other thing is getting them. If you only have 4 or 5 skis, then get out. Hey, yeah, we don't have anything at 2 o'clock, but we have it at 3 o'clock. How many of you guys are you? I'll tell you guys what, man, I'll hook you guys up for $70 per ski if you guys come at 4. So you got to use that sales and marketing background to, sort of work the magic, as it were.
Yeah. Okay. My neighbor, my neighbor in the slip over, he had a jet ski business too. He had 10, which is kind of funny because we were like 2 jet ski companies right next to each other, but he had 10 and July 4th hit and he lost half his skis. They all just crapped out all at once. And that's why having 4 or 5, you could literally lose your entire fleet really fast. And so you got to take it. I kind of put a number of like 25% over your expectations. So, you're going to lose, you expect to kind of lose 25%. You could do every single thing right, but you get a customer on there that runs over some sand or runs over a rock. And I mean, it could happen very easily, very quickly. And then all of a sudden, 1 week, all your fleet's damaged. And I hope that you are reading up on fiberglass repair, because doing a lot of, if you want stuff to get back in the water quick, then you might have to learn to do a few things. Because our main issue that we had is waiting for people to fix their stuff. Think about it. In the middle of summer, you're competing with the private owners that they have problems with their stuff, and there's only so many maintenance people to go around. So we were waiting 2 to 3 weeks to get our stuff back, sometimes longer. So if that ski is out for a month in peak season, you just lost 30% of your revenue for the year.
Yeah.
And that's why having enough, that's why I'm thinking like, 10 is probably a good number. If you baby the crap out of them and you.
What year is he getting these 10 skis, bro? 2025?
Yeah, I know, right?
I'm just looking like, I'm thinking about future. I understand right now it's almost a possibility, but I mean, right now, if there's many you can get your hands on with whatever you have, really. I mean, but 10 is that kind of that magic number. I think is a pretty safe number where you're able to sustainably grow. And just think about it too. If your demand is really high, raise your price. That's one way. Look inwards. We had a great episode about upsells. We have, damage protection's an easy way to make money. Easy. And then you got trip protection as well. Both of those things. I mean, Kevin, you've been running it for about 2 months now. And
it's been awesome.
Everyone, I got a couple other businesses that recently did it, and I got calls like a week later. Very happy operators that just we're finding money. Those are the things. So you got to look inward sometimes, because you're not going to be able to get equipment fast enough, not in this market.
Yeah, things are really bad in that area. Like, I need more boats right now. Like, and I am like sweating bullets. I'm so pissed. I mean, I'm not sweating bullets, but I mean, it's not going to hurt me, but I need more boats like badly. And I looked at the market, and it's just like old Mother Hubbard, man. The cupboard is fucking bare, and everybody wants like, thousands of dollars above market value for used, so I mean, shit, right now I'd say just sell the 2 that you got, man. You'll get $100,000 each for them. Launch in 2021 with a whole new fleet, because everybody wants them. I would stay away from anything with realistically like over 100 hours. Everything, this market's really tough.
Everything will be 16 to 19 Yamahas under 100 hours. There's a few that I got to buy from individuals, which is no big deal. There's a few floating around still reasonably priced in my area.
Get them.
Yeah.
I would say get them and get them now. Like, even if you can just get one, I would say get it now, because I don't think there's going to be any end in sight to the supply chain issues that we have. I think that's a longer episode, unfortunately.
Yeah.
That was one of my biggest mistakes is I figured, I'm just going to get skis later. But you have about 100 days to make most of your money, maybe 120 days. If you miss that, then it's like you missed out in the whole year. So
how hot does Texas get in like October, November? Does it get cold there?
We can ride all the way pretty much until daylight savings, which this year was November 1st. The water's chill, okay, but the weather is beautiful.
No, then say it's the same as here then.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So if I could find the money and get the skis, if I can get them earlier, get them now, that hell, you can make enough money in that one ski. I mean, there was times where those skis were booked out for a whole week straight. I would make enough money on one ski to pay for a half of a new one in 1 week. So it makes sense to do whatever you have to do to get the skis before your season. Because if you wait until after and say, I'm going to buy them now, well, now you got to hold on to them for 7 months before the next season hits, and you're having to pay, to maintain them and store them. And a ski sitting for 7 months is scary. I can't tell how many blow up.
There's also, I mean, if you're going to do shit completely dirty and illegal, you might as well do it like a more safe route and do like chartered fucking sunset tours. You know what I mean? You're like, might get pulled over by the Coast Guard and get a fine, but you're not going to see somebody like sailing through the air, but that was going to be my next bit of advice, man, is that, if this is something you want to pursue, I would highly recommend and you can use your own boats, a friend's boat, family's boat to get your sea time, to get your captain's license, and realistically, you could have that in your hand inside of 8 weeks. You can go get it's like a weekend class. You can get your captain's license, and it's like you could be on your way to doing, if there's nobody doing sunset cruises and, it's going to be all pissy and tell on you. I mean, that might be another route that you could go completely. And, you get $500-$600, man. If you love being on the water and love taking people out and showing them a good time, anybody can throw somebody on a fucking jet ski and send them out.
Yeah.
Really, I mean, you want to talk about brand recognition and really like getting some solid reviews and getting a rabid fan base, providing customer service over delivering on under promised activities is like the key to building your brand. When we first got started, I wasn't running jet skis. I was running like a water sport, like excursion, where they had a bunch of they had jet skis, inflatables, they had all this stuff, and I was driving the boat. And everything was call Captain Kevin. All of my shit was like, I still have people that call him like, is Captain Kevin there? I'm like, no, Captain Kevin quit. He's gone. He's hiding. That, it's 20,000 phone calls later. Thank God. But when we first got started, I mean, this is like my first hoodie, man. So that's why it's all crappy and got bleach stains on it. But it's like that's where I got started, and I petitioned for each and every one of those reviews, for all that customer service. Hey guys, thinking like even just down a different path, of jet skis. It's like you can go to, if you Google search like captain's license or how to get your captain's license, guaranteed there's probably somebody there that if they're not doing it in person, there's a bazillion places you can do it online. I would highly recommend doing it in person, because you could be going online for the next 5 years to get what should be done in a weekend. So if there's a C school there, I know C school is sort of like the largest one. I'm not a big fan of them. I like the more private, independent guys. You get a lot more better customer service, more personal. Hey, what does this mean? Hey, you get your questions answered quicker. You get that done. And it's like, man, you could be on the way, which is way easier to get insurance for. And you can do that on anything. You're just restricted to 6 people.
Yeah.
So the scalability, it becomes a more difficult process. And I can't even imagine what it would be like trying to find licensed captains in a major city, not near an ocean. That definitely be a bit more of a challenge. But still, if you're renting jet skis, and even if you're doing like, let's say, weekend sunset cruises, and that's something you really enjoy, I spent enough time behind the wheel of a boat. People offer me insane amounts of money to go do captain, like excursions out to Crab Island, and I'm like, nope, I'm good. I'm all set, and I got enough wheel time. But if that's something you enjoy, man, I mean, there's old skips, man, that are out there that are fucking 70 years old, man, that are still doing their sunset cruises, and you know what I mean? That's a lot of people really like, man, they see that as like, man, this would be a great time. I really want to do that. So, I mean, that's something you could get into a boat like for super cheap, man, 10 grand, 12 grand, something that you can throw 6 people on. Then, you work on it yourself, clean it up, and go out there and run people out and show them a good time. And I could tell you, I once you sit down with that marina manager, I would give him those sort of plans and see where he's at with it, because he might be like, you know what, jet skis are too much of a liability. But you might be like, well, what if I wanted to run like a captain charter out of here? And they might be like, that we can do. So, there's a whole world of water sports out there, man. Yeah. Kayaking tours, like, don't pigeonhole yourself just into jet skis, man. There's a ton of shit that you can realistically do that's much more low impact than jet skis, way easier to get insured for. I'm not like poo-pooing on jet skis. I do poo-poo on jet skis. I walk that back. I talk shit about jet skis all the time. Just because I know what they take and how much goes into it and how insanely safe you have to be, man. And that's the next point is, I mean, man, once you go above and beyond whatever your insurance requires, man, imagine that it is your child, that's your son or daughter that's out on that jet ski on the back of it, and look at every single possible hazard, treat it as an inevitability. Because at the end of the day, you can always replace jet skis. You can always replace anything, but you can't replace your customers. And I think as an industry going forward, and it's another reason why I wanted to start this segment, and I think the most important, valuable piece of it is, without having that bit of water sport background, is to operate way outside the parameters of safety. Whether or not you run a charter or not, I highly recommend getting your captain's license, so you at least have that bit of understanding, that pedigree that comes from the rules and regulations of the maritime industry.
Hey, Kevin, we're about at time, but I want to give Shawn, an opportunity to ask any questions that maybe he might have before we wrap it up.
If you guys had an operator going out of business in your area and just looking to liquidate his equipment, what's a reasonable offer? Specifically the docks and the PW sport, the docks and the PW port.
I would first understand what the value of the equipment is. So if it's, let's say, the liquidated value, not what like he's expecting to get. If he looked at like some like Kelly Blue Book value, whatever the value of the equipment is, typically, like if he had business already, let's say that he profited $20,000 a year for the past 2 years, then you would do like a formula such as like 2x times 20,000 plus the equipment. So if the equipment's worth 100,000, he makes 20,000 profit a year. And that's before taxes, interest, all that stuff. So it'd be 140,000 would be a reasonable amount that you'd pay, because you want to make the business back. I would also see if he has any web assets that actually can be good. Like if he's already ranked number 1 for jet ski rentals. I've seen opportunities where people bought businesses. They didn't care about the equipment. They just bought the domain. And in 1 year, they made like 3 times back what they paid for the business, because just the domain name itself and then the high ranking they had, the Google My Business listing.
There's also something to be taken and considered that you didn't mention, Greg, and that's a lease. If he's got a commercial lease that's attached to that, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years. If he's got that, there's value there too. Now, whether he knows that or not, I don't know, but that is whatever you're willing to pay. If there's nobody like buying and selling commercial leases or offering, like right now, if somebody came and wanted to buy my business, they'd be like, well, let's like look at your, interest before or earnings before interest, taxes,
depreciation, EBITDA.
Depreciation. Yeah. If they looked at that and they're like, this is what I think your business worth, I'd be like, oh, that's cool. Go find another commercial lease in near Destin, bitch. I think that's worth another $500,000. That's just me, so it's like you take it back to the old school sales thing though. Make them shoot you a fair one. Just be like, what do you want for your business? Yeah. He might be like, I don't know, my jet skis are worth $7,000 each. Give me $14,000, and then you're going to be like, done, dude. Yeah. But everything that the value that lies in that is the location, the ability to grow, and what you can turn it into. So make him shoot you a number. Ask him what he wants. You know how that goes, though, if you're in sales.
I agree 100% with Kevin. Ask him what his price is, because he might not know what the value is. I like to have a formula, because when they say, how did you get that number? I don't like arbitrary numbers. I like to say, okay, well, typically you buy business 2x profit plus inventory, but he might come in way, way below that. And that's a good thing. So, yeah.
All right, man. Well, I think unless you got any other questions, brother, I hope that this provided some value for you and some insight into your future. And, as we discussed a little bit, man, I'm definitely gunning for you. Me and Greg are always a resource for you. If you ever have any questions, definitely shoot me an email, reach out to Greg. And yeah, man, I'm really pulling for you, brother.
Yeah. You guys got me pretty damn excited the past couple of days. I'm not going to lie, man. And now there's a certain level of accountability that I have. I gotta go out and try to do what I said I'm going to do.
Yeah, because we're going to check back in with you in a few months, man. If you haven't done it, you're going to see Destiny Water Adventures fucking League, Texas, man.
So yeah, that's a good idea. We'll check in back in with you, Shawn. I don't know, 3 months from now, we're gonna get another show with you, talk about everything that was going on. Well, how will we do it after the summer? Because you're going to start back open Memorial Day. We'll come check back after the summer, and then we'll see how things are going. In the meantime, you have us. Reach out to us, and we'll help you get anything we talked about today. We help you get set up and guide you through. So,
and keep on asking questions in the Facebook group, man.
Yeah. You ask good questions, Shawn. We do like that. All right. Well, hey, everyone, thanks for listening. We really appreciate all the feedback you're providing on our Facebook group. Again, leave a review for us on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. And that's a wrap. Appreciate you listening and keep it awkward.
You've been listening to the Awkward Watersport Guys podcast. If you're in the water sport industry, this is the podcast that brings the business perspective to parasailing, jet and ski boat rentals, sailing, snorkeling, and everything else. We hope you've gotten some useful and practical information from this show. Be sure to sign up to our email list at watersportpodcast.com and subscribe in your favorite podcast app. We'll see you next time, and thanks for listening.